Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. As I mentioned before, my name is Gabriel Gasque, and I am Head of Outreach at Protocols.io. This is an advanced webinar for power users of Protocols.io. And before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have a background in experimental neuroscience with doctoral studies and postdoctoral research. And before joining Protocols.io, I was an editor in PLOS Biology, which is the flagship journal of the Public Library of Science for 9 years. I consider myself a scientist as well as an advocate for open science, experimental reproducibility, and research integrity. As I mentioned before, I am recording the session, and I will share both the recording and the slide deck with all registered participants. And before we jump in, just a quick note, in case you are not an advanced user of Protocols.io, I just want to point out that the platform is really intuitive, and the best way to familiarize yourself with the many different tools and functionality is to just log in and play around. However, we also have a series of resources that you can browse for more information. These resources can be found at the following URLs. So we have a series of regularly scheduled webinars like this one, but these also include an introduction to Protocols.io. So if you go to this particular URL, you will see the list of webinars that we present and how they are organized by time zone. And you can register to the time that is convenient and the topic you want to attend. If you scroll down, you will see the upcoming webinars. We also have a series of pre-recorded tutorials, and there is a link to request a one-to-one demo. In these demos, you will talk privately with one of our specialists, and you can share your screen, they can share their screen, and have a very interactive conversation about any question that you might have about Protocols.io. So, because this is not an introduction webinar, we are going to be highlighting some features that, even though within the platform is intuitive, these features might take a couple of months before you encounter them and could be, however, very useful from the beginning. So I'm going to focus on some of these things about the editor that are not necessarily very easily discoverable. So we will discuss about how to import, bring into the platform existing protocols in different formats, like Word documents or PDFs. We will talk a little bit about components, about how to enrich your protocols with images and videos. We'll also talk about the file manager, the difference between copying and forking, and about collections, and about sharing protocols from the platform. So let's begin. And to do that, I'm gonna minimize my presentation, go to the file manager. So just to orient ourselves, what you see to the left is the list of different workspaces to which I belong. Some of these workspaces were created by me, so I am the administrator, and some of these workspaces were created by somebody else, and I'm just a member. Some of the workspaces are public, some of the workspaces are private. We are going to be working on my private workspace. of which I am the administrator. As you can see, the file manager of that workspace contains several folders to organize all my protocols. And we're going to be using this folder called Advanced Webinar with today's date. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to bring into the platform existing protocols in different formats. So here to the right, you can see my hard drive in which I have several protocols in different formats. So we have a Microsoft Word protocol, an Apple Pages, a PDF, and a text file. I can open any of these protocols. Let's open the PDF. So you can see how they look like. So there is a title, the authors, an abstract, some notes, and then you start seeing the protocol here. So how to bring into the platform these existing protocols. And I'm going to show you 3 ways, going from the easiest but less sophisticated to the more complex, but probably more useful, most useful way of bringing protocols. So the easiest way is to select a folder in which you want to bring these protocols, and then you just can take them and drag them. And now the protocols are already in protocols.io. So this is a very easy way for you to centralize everything protocol related into a single platform. You can share these protocols with anybody via email, or you can share with specific workspaces. So I can type here the email address of anybody with whom I would like to share this protocol. However, because these are not protocols created in protocols.io, these are documents in their original format, I cannot publish them. So none of these protocols are publishable. So how to create a publishable protocol out of these existing protocols? So the easiest way is to create an empty protocol and attach any of these documents to that empty protocol. So to do that, I go to the New button. I select New Protocol. I select in what folder I want to save that new protocol. Now, because this is a protocol created in protocols.io, I can add a title. I can add an abstract in the description tab. And by adding a title and an abstract, I make my protocol more discoverable. And in the same description tab, I can scroll down, and there is a window to attach files. So I can browse a file either from the file manager or from my hard drive. If I select from the file manager, I can go to the folder in which I brought these protocols, and I have attached that document. Now, if I go to the viewer, I will see that my protocol has a title, it has an abstract, and the protocol itself is attached as a PDF file. So now, because this is a protocol created in the platform, I can publish it. And I just have to complete these 6 steps to make my protocol public and to assign to it a DOI. Now, if I reload, I can see the protocol that I just created. It's here. So this is the second way. The first way is just to drag the protocols into the file manager. The second way is to create an empty protocol and attach my protocol as a PDF or a Word document. However, even though I can publish this protocol, and let me go back, this is not an interactive or dynamic protocol because it doesn't have the steps traditionally seen in the protocols created with protocols.io. So I'm going to teach you a way in which you can create these steps. So to do that, I'm going to create a new protocol. That I'm going to call demo protocol with today's date and the letter P. Again, I can add the abstract. And now I go back to the steps. And I don't know if it's too small for you to see, but it says here, if you have an existing protocol, you can insert steps from a text file. So I can go to my protocols. I'm gonna open the test protocol B in pages format. And you can see the protocol here. Again, it has a name, authors, abstract, and the steps are organized into different sections. So this way that I'm going to teach you only works for text files. It doesn't work for PDF. But I can copy the steps that I want to insert into my protocol. I can click this button that says insert steps from a text file. I can paste the steps. And now the steps in my text file have been transformed into the steps of the protocol. And you can see them here. I can even add the name of the section, the title of the section. I can add a second section. And again, I can insert the steps from a text file. Now I can remove this empty step. And I can see now, if I go to the viewer, the protocol again has a title, has an abstract, but now it has steps. By creating steps in protocols.io, I make the protocol interactive because I can add comments. So if you are collaborating in developing this protocol with one of your colleagues, they can add comments and you can respond to those comments in the platform. So it makes the protocol interactive. And it also makes the protocol dynamic because I can run it from the computer or tablet. So if I run it, I can allow the tablet, cell phone, or computer to guide me through the run of the protocol, and I can see the advance of my experiment. Running a protocol also allows me to add notes. So if I made a mistake, sorry. So I can add a comment, sorry. If I made a mistake in one of the steps, I can add that comment. And I can save that experiment run as an independent file. So if I go to my file manager, I can see the run of that experiment. And if I open that run, I will see the comments that were attached, indicating that I made a mistake in this very specific run of this experiment on this day. So now that we have discussed how to bring into the platform existing documents, let's work a little bit with the editor on these steps that we have created. So I'm going to go back to the protocol that has the steps, which is the version B. And I didn't mention it explicitly, but the same as with the previous protocol that has the attachment, this protocol that has the steps can be shared and can be published. But now let's focus on the components that we see here and how they use them in the steps. So with the components, for example, we can turn volumes like 15 ml here into an amount. And the time into a duration. This will make the protocol more visible, appealing. So if I go to the view, you can see the components here, but it will also allow me to automatically scale my protocol. So if I, let's say, if I run my protocol again, and I decide to scale my protocol, let's say I decide to run twice the amounts for these experiments, I can go here, scale the protocol, and say I'm going to run it twice the amount. All the volumes have been scaled by 2. So if you use this component, you minimize the chances of making mistakes because all the amounts will automatically be scaled. By using the duration component, I'm actually creating real timers that I can play instead of using my timer. And when the time is over, the computer will let me know with a beep. So these are some of the advantages of using these components. It is very easy to also insert images or videos to clarify instructions in the steps. For example, if I want to insert an image here, I can search in my hard drive. I can insert an image. I can also embed a video directly from YouTube by using the embed media. So I can go to the YouTube video. In this case, this video explains how to run a PCR, how to load a gel of a PCR. You can see the video here. I can click the share button, click here on the embed, copy the script, and paste it here. And now the video has been embedded. And if I go to the viewer, I see the image that I just uploaded. And I can also see the video, not as a hyperlink, but actually as the video itself, which can be run. It is also very easy to insert tables. So there is a table functionality here. So I can say, this is reagent, this is volume, and this is 5x. I can say this is reagent A, this is reagent B, and the volume in microliters, it's 45 and 13. And the tables accept formulas. So I can say equals B2 times 5. And now the volume in B2 has been multiplied by 5, and I can copy that. Very easy. I can also import tables from Excel. So in this case, I have a table here in Google Sheets. I can copy the amount. Now, I want you to pay attention because in this case, this column is the original volume multiplied by 10. But it is the value, not the formula that is being displayed. So I can copy the table, go to my table, and I can paste it here. And now the table has been copied. However, what has been copied to column C are the values, not the formulas. If I want the formulas to be inserted, I have to go to Excel or Google Sheets and ask to show the formulas. Now you see that the formulas are being displayed, so I can copy them again and paste them. And now the formulas have been copied. The values are being displayed, but the formulas are underneath. So the way to do that again, it's view, show, formulas. You copy them and you paste them. Another component that I would like to show to you, it's what we call the smart component, which is an actionable component during a run to capture values. So I'm going to change this to biology. Here is the smart component, which looks like a table. So I can add a row. Let's say that I'm counting dead cells in a microscope. So I can say total cells, make it a required field, and then dead cells. And also make it a required field. And now I can add my component. So as you can see, it looks like a table. But this is an actionable table. So if I decide to run this protocol, again, I can tick off every step as completed, as I move forward in my experiment. But when I reached the step 5, which was the actionable component, I cannot mark it as done because I have not entered the values. So I need to enter the values in this case. Let's say that I counted 423 total cells, of which 75 were dead. Now, because I have entered the values, I can take it as done. And then I can complete my experiment, save the run as number 2. If I go back to my file manager, I can see that I have my run 1 and my run 2. And now if I open run 2, which is the run of that experiment, I can see the values that I entered. So in a way, it works like a lab book because you can enter values of the experiment run, and those will be saved as an independent file that then you can open. And the final component that I want to show to you, it's the, let me reopen my protocol, which is protocol B, is what we call the step case. Step case is used when a protocol bifurcates into different options. Let's say that you're working with 2 different tissues. You're working with lung and you're working with heart. And the protocol is the same up to step 8. And then it bifurcates. So I can add a step case. I can call this step lung tissue. The short will be lung. And then if you work with lung tissue, freeze samples. Now I can add a new case, which is going to be heart tissue. I can call it heart. And then if you work with heart tissue, do not freeze. So I have now 2 different cases that are different in what you have to do. And if I go to the viewer again, you can see the protocol. It is the same until you reach step 8, and that has 2 options. Either you work with lung or you work with heart. Lung, heart. And you can move back and forth between the 2 different options that you have when this protocol bifurcates. Now let's talk about the file manager. I've showed you a little bit about advanced features of the editor. So the file manager is a functionality that allows me to organize, display, and manage my protocols and documents. And specifically, what I want to show to you is how to copy, fork, or version protocols. So I can create a new version of this protocol, which is B. And to do so, I select my protocol, I copy new version, It's working. And we use versions when we want to add small modifications to the protocol. Let's say that you are optimizing or trying different variables for the same protocol. I can call it v2. Now, if I go back to my file manager, you see that here the two versions of the protocol, the original one and v2. And now I can navigate between the two different versions of the protocol. So, and we advise users to create versions when they want to make corrections or add minor modifications to an existing protocol. For example, you are trying two different reagents, but the purpose of the protocol is the same. You are just making really minor changes, so you are creating two versions of the same protocol. I have to clarify that you can only version your own protocols. You cannot version protocols created by somebody else. If you want to create your own version of an existing protocol created by somebody else, you have to use the fork. So I can search any protocol in the public database. This is a public protocol because everything that we publish is open access. Anyone with an internet connection for free can come and read our public protocols. So I have a protocol here for making a PCR. And this is a useful protocol for me, but I want to make some changes. Let's say instead of using 25 microliters, I want to use 30 microliters. So I can create my own version of that protocol, my own fork of that protocol, and then modify it. To do that, I go to copy and fork, create my own fork, which I can save, again, in the folder that I want. And now I have created my own fork of this existing Provel protocol. I cannot version it, I can only fork it. And now I can modify it. I can change it to 30, and I can rename it to make sure it is my own copy, my own fork of that protocol. So if I go to view, I see the modified version of this protocol, and there is a flag here that says that this protocol has been forked from the protocol called PCR. So if I eventually publish this protocol, any reader will have access to the liner creator. They will read my protocol, but they will also be referred to the protocol from which I fork this protocol and modify it. And again, if I go back to the file manager, I can see that version of my protocol, which has been forked from an existing protocol. You can fork any public protocol. It doesn't have to be your own protocol. Any protocol works as a template for your own optimizations. Now, the final thing that I want to mention is copy. You can create a copy of your own protocols only. You cannot create a copy from existing protocols, only from your own protocols, public or private. But the copies will not be linked like these protocols are. So if I take this protocol and I make a copy of it, I have created the copy now, but you will see that the copy and the original protocol are not linked the way that this one is linked to the one from which I forked it. So if I copy a protocol, the two copies will be independent from each other. If I fork a protocol, the copies will be historically linked. You can fork any protocol, your own or existing protocols. You can only copy your own protocols. You cannot copy protocols created by somebody else. So we have talked about versioning, copying, and forking. Let's talk about creating a collection. So a collection is a single document that collects and puts together many existing protocols. And this is useful if you want, let's say, to publish a paper in which you are using several protocols. So you can bring those protocols together into a single document. To do that, I select New. I select a new collection. I can add a title to the collection. I can add an abstract. And now I can start adding protocols to this collection. I'm going to search in my files. Well, I'm sorry. For some reason, the search my files is not quite working. Let me see if I reload. Okay. I apologize because this function is not currently working. So I'm going to report it to the engineers, but I can search for public protocols. So let's say that I want to do the PCR protocol. I can add one protocol here. I can search for another protocol that is called single cell. And now I have created this collection demo, which if I open it and I view it, it contains two protocols. And I can open each protocol independently. Now, I can publish this collection as a single document, and it will receive a DOI, which I then can include that DOI in my publication. Now, and just to finalize, we have created a series of documents, experiments run, protocols, collection, how I can collaborate from the platform. I'm going to show you two ways in which you can collaborate. As I mentioned before, you can send specific files to any collaborator by using their email. So you can take any document and share it with a collaborator by adding their email address. And you can decide what that collaborator can do with that file that you have shared. They can view it only, or they can edit it as well. And then if I save it, this file, this very specific file, has been shared with a collaborator. Another way to collaborate is to bring people into your workspace. If you bring people into your workspace, they will have access not only to one file, but to everything you have stored in that file manager. To bring people into your workspace, you select the administration menu, you select manage members, and by inviting people, you can bring people into your workspace. In this case, there is another member here, and I, as an administrator, can control whether this person is an administrator, an owner, or just a member. So I'm going to leave it as a member. So you can send documents, protocols, files to people outside the workspace, or you can bring people inside the workspace. If you bring somebody to the workspace, they will see all the documents that are stored in the file manager of that workspace. And with that, I will finalize now and open the floor for questions. You can type the questions in the chat or in the Q&A window. I'm going to stop the recording in case somebody wants to ask a question of the record.